In this interview, we're going to discuss group formation. My name is Justin Healy, and I'm going to have a conversation with Mick O'Malley from Australian Kokoda Tours. Mick is a former Commonwealth boxing champion who now runs a personal training business as well as trips to the famous Kokoda track. So Mick, can you tell us a bit about Australian Kokoda Tours?
Australian Kokoda Tours, we're a trekking company that trek basically only in Papua New Guinea on the Kokoda Trail. We were founded in 2006. We've done probably over 150 treks now into Papua. We have a base in Papua New Guinea, but also a base here in Australia where we train most of our clients for 8 weeks prior to trekking over there and go over and undertake the Kokoda Trail, which is the trail itself is about 96 kilometres long, but over the 8 days we walk about 140 kilometres retracing the steps of the Australian soldiers in World War II and the Kokoda campaign.
What sort of people do you take on the Kokoda trips?
We take a varied range of people, sporting groups, general public, school groups. School groups, I'm very passionate about taking school groups over there, keeping the education of the campaign up and what it was about and basically keeping the story alive.
So why do you think completing the trek is such a great experience?
It's probably varied reasons for a lot of people, but I think they all start off with possibly different reasons but come with a greater sense of accomplishment and achievement. And it's really too often we give up before we try. And once you're in Papua, once you're on the Kokoda Trail, you really only have two options, and that's to walk out or to get medevaced out. Most people, obviously, unless you're unwell, are not going to get medevaced out, so they have to walk. So it's basically enables you to change that mindset of I can do rather than I can't.
So for a lot of people, it's one of the hardest things they'll do in their life.
I would say for 90 to 95% of our trekkers, apart from elite AFL footballers, it's possibly the hardest thing they've done in their life.
So what are the group sizes?
Our groups vary from anywhere from about 10. We just took a group of at-risk kids with Victoria Police and that was 35. But on average our group's around about 15 or so.
Why is it important to develop a group that works well together?
Well, there's a few reasons for that. One is that the group is spending 10 days together, 8 days trekking together, and probably one of the hardest things that they're going to do in their life. But not only that, the trek itself is probably 65% mental and 35% physical. So you really need the group to be bonding well in order to help each other out. At some stage during the walk itself, during the trek, the trekkers are going to need to call on each other to help them. It might be the fact that they might get unwell, they might get sick on the trek, they might get an injury on the trek, they might just be feeling down. It could possibly be an emotional anniversary of somebody who's done the trek, all different reasons. And for spending 24 hours a day, or at the very least, you're spending 12, 13 hours a day together with someone waking hours for 8 days. It's a long time, so it's really important to have the group gel together.
So Mick, what are the group dynamics like on the first day?
So the first day of the trek is trekkers basically probably more alone trying to work themselves out in their own headspace. And they get lulled into a little bit of a false sense of security on the first day because it's rather flat, a rather easy trek. And then about 3 hours in, they hit the first hill, which is incredibly difficult. And then their mind starts to flood with thoughts of, am I going to be able to do this? I'm away from home, there's no telephone, I miss my family, I miss my brother, whatever it may be. I don't want to embarrass myself, I don't want to get sick. All these negative thoughts tend to, for most people, all these negative thoughts tend to come to the forefront. And it's probably not until a couple of days in that they really start to bond and go through that mental change of I can rather than I cannot.
So on the first day, they're really just starting to get to know each other.
Yep, they're really starting to feel each other out. Hi, where you from? How have you been? Those sorts of things.
So after a couple of days of the trip, people would be starting to get to know each other, and I would imagine potentially wear on each other. Is this the case?
Probably you'll get one out of every 7 or 8 groups that is going to wear on people, and it's basically they're usually the people that come by themselves and they're trying to fit in and they, just don't get along with a lot of people. But most people are pretty like-minded that do Kokoda track. But you also have to be really wary of those, and I wouldn't call them outcasts, but the people that are by themselves that are wearing and are aggravating some people, because you don't want to let that affect the group. But most people are really sort of getting along quite well.
So early in the trip, at that time where people are starting to get to know each other, do you ever get conflict between individuals, and what sort of causes that?
Very rarely. The answer is yes, you do, but it's very rarely, and it might be something that someone's usually not feeling well or they're tired, and then you've got somebody up and about and upbeat, and it's normally when they're friends, they know each other, they let their guard down a little bit, and they can become a little bit annoying to each other, or one in particular to the other when the other's not taking it, and that they can sort of have a few cross words.
As you get further into the trek, do most groups start to settle more and work better together?
Yeah, most definitely. The groups, after 3 to 4 days, the individuals start to become a team. They start off as a individual group of people, and they really end up as a team of people by the end of it. That's helped along by a good guide as well, but that anxious, nervous energy goes away after a few days, and they become a lot more settled, and they work together as a team as opposed to individuals.
So we've spoken about the first day, we've spoken about a couple of days in, then 4 or 5 days in. By the end of the trek, as you're approaching that 8 to 10 day mark, how's the group working together then?
By the end, the really bonded group where they're all working towards that one goal of everyone becoming, completing the Kokoda track. You tend to get you still have a couple of strugglers usually in every group. By the end of the trek, you'll still have 2 or 3 people that are struggling and really doing it hard.
Physically and mentally?
Both physically and mentally, and both. You definitely will have people mentally that are struggling, but you also do have people that are mentally and physically struggling, and that's when you tend to get a lot of your, which I call it the mothering effect. And I don't say that in a derogatory way because I think it's fantastic. You get the group tends to mother those that are really struggling and really help them work their way through the end of the trek.
So it seems like as the group becomes more certain about their individual abilities to complete it, then they can then shift more of their energy into helping other people as the trek goes on.
Yeah, most definitely. I'll definitely agree with that. Yep.
So how does your group feel after they finish the trek?
Yeah, as I said earlier, Kokoda is probably one of the hardest things that most individuals ever do in their life. So at the end of it, to be able to complete something that was so incredibly difficult, they're just overjoyed at what they've done. To think that they weren't going to be able to do this 8 days ago, just a group of individuals that have now become a family. So they're overcome with emotion. I don't think I've ever had a trek where I haven't had somebody cry at the completion of a trek. The emotions have just come flowing to the front. So we always have a celebration dinner at the end of each trek with all our guides and porters, and they all have a great time together. And then you just find they become a family afterwards. I would get invited to 15 to 20 Kokoda reunions every year without fail. Of the groups catching up, there was just another message that went out last night for a catch up at the end of next week for a local group.